This is Oris, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com, wishing you a happy July 4th Independence Day. So, just like many of you, the old guy and his family are going to be out doing stuff on Independence Day, barbecue, having a few drinks, friends, all that stuff. But as the old guy is prone to do, he likes to remember the actual reason why we're celebrating this day. So he's called a family meeting. Family meeting.
All here.
All here. Pop, chime in, guys.
Here.
Okay, here. I promise there will be no one crying at this family meeting. So sometimes that happens. But what we're going to do is Hillsdale College in Michigan, great school, has a Declaration of Independence, and they're encouraging people to read it. Now, I posted a link to a video, Mark Dice interviewing people at the beach in San Diego. Independence Day zombies. It's sad. It's sad that people don't even know what July 4th is all about. It's really, it's kind of it's a train wreck to watch. It's funny and it's sad at the same time. So, as part of our celebration of Independence Day, I'm going to read the whole Declaration of Independence. Now, I'm going to tell you, the print is really small on this copy, so may take a little while. But I'm going to encourage you to get a copy of this and read it out loud with your friends and family, especially if you know some Independence Day zombies that don't know what the 4th of July is all about. So here it goes. Declaration of Independence. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impelled them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among them are those life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation and such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce the absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries, usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And so when suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people who would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance by his measures. He has dissolved Representative House repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasion of the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise. prevent the population of these states for that purpose of obstructing the law of our naturalization for forgiveness, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriation of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary power. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payments of their salaries. He has enacted a multitude of new offices, set hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislature. He has effected to render military independent and of the giving of his assent to their acts and pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English law in a neighboring province, establishing therein the arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule in these colonies. Boy, it's tough to read all this, especially small print. For suspending our own legislation and declaring themselves instead with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny, all begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country and to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages who know the rules of warfare. It is undistinguishable disruption of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislatures to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow their usurpations, it's hard to say, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right power do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, fortunes, and our sacred honor. Signed by 56 people, and everyone that signed was pledging their life. So, I'm sorry, got a little chill up my spine just from reading that. This is Oris the Old Guy wishing you a very, very happy 4th of July, and take the time to remember what this is all about. Take care.